Hi, and welcome to Yeshiva Shem Aver. I'm Rabbi David Katz. And you are here for, technically, the first class of our new series, the Tehillim or Psalms in Depth of Yeshiva Shem Aver. All right, last week we had or in Hebrew I guess you call it the Hakdama, the introduction to the class. And we introduced what the class is about, where the idea came from, generally how it's going to go, where we've been, where we're going, and how we will boldly go where no man has gone before. The only thing missing from last week, and it's the most important part, the dedication ceremony. This is the entire project, from the learning and reviewing and the classes. Baruch ben Yoel Tova and Liza Leah Basara. Questions, comments, or feedback, I can always be reached at Rabbi Katz at virtualyeshiva.com. The order of operations that we're going to proceed with this class, and it may very well change, and probably will change. Keep that in mind. Every new system and cycle that we do basically goes through changes, scheduling, carpooling, and make for lifestyle, difficulties with the kids and everything. So I'm very thankful for everybody's loose ability and schedule to keep up with the schedule changes. With the kids, it always makes it difficult sometimes, sick or vacation from school, whatever it is. So I appreciate that. If anybody followed the Song of Songs series, it was done years ago, but if you found it, it's been around. It's not hidden. The system I did back then was obviously there's about 115 or whatever verses in Song of Songs, Shir Shirim, and we did one verse at a time, an hour's class per verse. And we finished the whole book. So in the end, it's about 115 hours of Torah on Shir Shirim. Now, Psalms is obviously a much bigger work than that. And I think what we're going to do, again, this can change, but try to keep up. Read a verse at a time in Hebrew and in English. Translate and cover the gist of the commentary on each verse. And then, as I did with Shir Shirim, go into the explanation of the commentary, thus explaining the verse itself. Now, in Shir Shirim, we did the Vilna Gaon's commentary. And in this series, we're doing a different commentary. This is called Shai Lamora. Now, there's a famous rabbi who was called the Shai Lamora. Shai Lamora is, I don't know if it's actually a verse in Tehillim. I think it is. I didn't get there yet. It means like an offering before God, to approach before God. That's a different commentary. That's a famous commentary. What this is a publishing house called Shai Lamora, and they really did a fantastic job. They took together, there's a Rashi's commentaries in here. I don't really go by the Rashi so much, because he also brings Rashi in his commentary. He brings a what's called a likut. He gathers all the classic commentaries on Tehillim, on Psalms, and he lists the most appropriate commentary for the verse to make a consistent flow and beautiful commentary. That's the publishing house is called Shai Lamora, and I've been using the Shai Lamora, and it is really, really fantastic. So that's the commentary we're going to use. Pardon my voice still going out. It has not been replenished to this point, and I taught last night, so it is what it is. With that said, let's go. We're starting number 72, which is actually the last Tehillim that David wrote. King David ended all Psalms with 72, where there's always people giving opinions or explanations why the order is the way it is, and it's out of order, it's in order. Whatever it's worth, he closes at 72. 72 is a fantastic number. And anybody that follows light Kabbalistic thought even would know the 72 names of God, and the Zohar calculates a lot of things with 72. King David also was in on the 72 thing. What can I say? Okay. With that said, there's no need to further give an introduction. We gave an hour's class, or an hour and a half almost, last week. Baruch ben Yolotova, Liza Leah Basara. Here we go. Cha cha cha. And this has been ages since we did this kind of commentary, isn't it? Annie, you were there for all that. This is fantastic. It's like seeing an old friend. Okay. For Solomon, oh God, by the way, this is, just so you know, the Art Scroll interlinear translation, just to get a basis of what we're dealing with, which I like it also. I think this whole system works pretty good. So to Solomon, O God, your judgments to the king, give in your righteousness to the son of the king. Okay, that is our translation. Into the Shai Lamora. To Solomon, I'm not going to translate every word of the commentary. I want to just give a gist. And I don't know if it's going to be like perfect English, half whatever, yeshivish, but I'm going to explain what the commentary is saying. But rough. It's not a proper speech, right? I wanted this to be an open lecture. So there's many types of names of psalms, and one of them is called Mizmor. There's Mizmor, there's Lama Netzeach, there's a lot of things. I think there's 10 types of song. So this particular type of song, King David prayed on Solomon his son, that King David saw with Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration, that in the future, King Solomon would request from God, I guess the name, I have to look inside the actual prophet, but he says here, Yudke Vavke. He asked upon the name of God, Yudke Vavke, for a heart to understand, to hear mishpat. Know that word mishpat. Means justice, as it says in the book of Kings. Okay, we have, so God, your judgments to the king, give your righteousness to the son of the king. God, your judgments to the king, give you, O God, the wisdom. You should give the wisdom to judge as you commanded in the Torah. Give to Solomon that you commanded that should be by a king, as to say, give to him knowledge and understanding to judge with justice, not only justice but righteous justice, and don't make a mistake in the rendering of judgment. And his judgments should be straight, yashar, another form of the word just, until there should be justice, just like your justice. And righteousness should be given to the son of the king. Give to him of your righteousness from the side that he is the son of a king. David is a king. That the king, it's in his hand, the inheritance from father to son. And we say to the son of the king that David was the king and Solomon was his son, and this should remain as it is. How many awesome concepts are in this verse? Can you guys already see something really is very reminiscent to Song of Songs? The first thing that sticks out in my mind is the very first word, L'Shlomo, to Solomon. If you think back, and we say the first opening segue of a book or whatever it is the essence. Right? The word Bereshit is, you can say, the whole Torah. The Tikkun Zohar teaches that there's 70 permutations of the word Bereshit. Brit Eish is one of them, the covenant of fire. And there's all kinds of ways of putting together Bereshit. And the first verse in the Torah, Bereshit bar Elokim es hashamayim v'haaretz, Hashem created the heavens and the earth in the beginning. One could argue that's the entire Torah. Now we fall over to Song of Songs. Shira Shirim Asher L'Shlomo. Song of Songs that were to Solomon. The Lamed before the word Shlomo, Solomon, is just one of those, it's an additional letter, and you can say that it's reminiscent of 30, right? The number 30. We say that the times of Mashiach, based on the verse in Zechariah, there's going to be 30 additional Noahide mitzvahs given to the Noahides. I'm sure you guys have heard about this, right? 30 additional laws or mitzvahs to Noah will be given. And the Talmud in Sanhedrin goes over them. And the Ein Yaakov commentary explains the 30 mitzvahs. Some say that it refers to 30 righteous Noahides in the world, like Abraham. Whatever it is, you can say that the Lamed before the word Solomon, Shira Shirim Asher L'Shlomo, Song of Songs, that is 30 to Solomon. So that was the hint given over in Song of Songs. Here in Tehillim 72 is King David charging King Solomon with the mission to be a king and to let the cat out of the bag. This Psalm 72, and a lot of Psalms, but this one in particular, since it's the mission to Solomon, the entire focus of this Psalm is Solomon being king, being, having a wise heart, understanding heart, knowing heart, so that he can judge the world, i.e. the nations, i.e. Noahide laws, with absolute righteousness. King David says that Gog v'Magog, the Messianic war, is won by the perfection of Noahide law. So here's King David going out from the kingship, giving over the charge to Solomon. And the entire charge and request for wisdom and understanding and all these things, and as the word mishpat of justice, is so that he will judge Noahides perfectly. That is Tikkun Olam. That is the repair of the world. So already off the bat, we have it doesn't say Solomon, it says Lishlomo, with a Lamed, meaning 30 Noahide laws. So when Solomon opened, this is written figure in the time Solomon was a child. When King Solomon goes to write Song of Songs, and he puts that Lamed before his own name, we see it's right there in the Tehillim written by King David. It's just a very interesting connection. And he wants King Solomon to be able to listen with a heart that understands, to be able to listen to gain insight of Mishpat. Now, backtrack to last night, or for anybody following along in Parshas Tetzaveh, where we have the breastplate of the high priest, called the Choshen Mishpat, the breastplate of judgment. Inscribed on the breastplate of judgment are the 12 tribes. And we know that when the high priest approaches the situation at hand to inquire of God what to do, They look to the breastplate's illumination with divine inspiration, and whether it's unscrambling letters or understanding the hints from God to know what to do. This goes on the Choshen Mishpat, the breastplate of judgment. Inside the breastplate is what's called the Urim V'Tumim, right? The mysterious parchment with names of God that goes inside the breastplate. And you have to hear last night's class to get the whole gist of it. But basically, we're saying that the breastplate represents the Jewish nation, and the Urim V'Tumim parchment represents the Ger. And then when they work together, let's say the Jew inquiring with the breastplate and the Urim V'Tumim, this learning partnership will draw down revelation. So basically, to know what to do, knowing what is the way on earth. Now, what is there to do on earth? In that we need to draw down revelation. The answer is, there's really only two things that you're doing in this world. You're either building the Tower of Babylon, and you're fooled by that, you really believe you're building the Tower of Babylon, or if you understand the truth of what you're doing, you're building the third temple. This is called figuring out life. You know, what's it all about, this and that, and why are we here? You're here to build the third temple. That's called Olam Hazeh, this world. So when you're stuck, or you're in trouble, confused, what you're saying is, I'm stuck in my building of the third temple. So when the Jew and the Ger get together and bring down revelation, it might look like interesting Torah and light, but what you're really doing is you're bringing out from your heart the floor plans to the base of Mikdash, the third temple. This is based on Ezekiel's prophecy from the Haftorah, from the Parsha Tetzaveh. Okay. You should also know, don't read L'Shlomo. You can. But you can also read L'Shlema for perfection. For perfection. And I think they say that in Song of Songs, Chaim told me this, that Solomon or Shlomo, I think it's one place or every place, it can be, whatever it is, Solomon, Shlomo can also mean Shalom. I think we looked it up. It's one place in the Song of Songs. So by opening up with L'Shlomo, to Shlomo, God, your judgments should be given to the king, and your righteousness to the son of the king. Or your judgments to the king, you gave your righteousness to the son of the king. So you can say that for perfection, for completion, for peace, is the name of God Elohim related to the judgments given to the king. Now, why are we focusing on the name Elohim? And this is a really important concept. We all know that there's, when we make a prayer, you say Baruch Atah Hashem. The name of Hashem is Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. And then you continue with the blessing. When a lot of people don't know what is the intention, what does it mean? Blessed are you, Baruch Atah. What does it mean, you? Why do we say blessed are you, God? Yada yada yada. And the answer is blessed is blessed, and the Atah, you, is qualifying what aspect of God we are connecting to. So as if to say blessed, or this is a blessing, or the honoring of bringing out Atah Elohim. as if to say the God of nature, the God of creation. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei is a name of God that's like, they'll say, the ineffable name of God, the essential name of God. For that, we say, it started with Noah. Noah was the first one to say Baruch Hashem. Everyone's heard Baruch Hashem. It's just, blessed is God. King David is different. You hear sometimes in the rabbinic literature, certain names of God are used over other names. For example, the name is spelled Shin, Dalet, and Yud, right? We say there's something called Malchus Shakai, like the kingdom of this particular name of God. And every time you use a name of God, there's connotation that you wish to impart. So the rectification of Malchus Shakai is when God's world is done. Right? The end of the world, Kates Yamin, is when God says, that's enough, which is the literal translation of the name of God and what we're talking about. Then if you want to talk Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, you'll say, God in his absolute essence of God. When we talk about God, we're saying that name. The universal name that we all understand. However, the name of Elohim, King David goes into, and this is going to sound like a really dodgy thing that I'm about to say, but it's the emes. King David is in love with the word Yeshua. And that is, I know, by the Noahide world, that is like the most dodgiest thing you could ever say. But in the literature of King David, you see every psalm. In fact, just to quote you, in our psalm, verse 4, right? Let's read verse 4 just for context. May he judge the poor of the nation. May he save the children of the destitute. And may he crush the oppressor. Yishpot aniyei am. May he judge the poor of the nation. Yoshia livnei Evyon. Right? May he save the children of the destitute. You see, in King David's writings in Tehillim, the concept of salvation, and he doesn't always use the word Geula or Goel, Gimel Aleph Lamed. He loves the word Yoshea, Yeshua, Yoshia. The essence of King David's plight that he's on about in Psalms is that there's no such thing as exile per se, right? There's only God, and we don't see God day to day because God has hidden himself from mankind in the creation. So God is with God. And God then, let's say, creates the Jewish people to pull into exile with him. And it's the Gerim that are kind of just in exile with God. They just are in exile. And the Jewish people are the ones that are pulled in exile. This is why you have, let's say, a lot of problems with the Jewish people. They're saying, the whole thing of the Torah, the stiff neck, we don't want to go in exile. It's not fun. You're trying to hold on to not going in exile. I have a house, I have a family, I have a job. Can't you just bother somebody else? I don't want to pack up, move out, ship out. I'm comfortable. But we say that, Jacob, this was his problem. He wanted Shalva. Shalva is like that real, just leave me alone, let it just be quiet and comfortable. And God says, no. We go in exile. So the reason why King David's soul is, let's say, the most appropriate for being the Messiah, as the prophet Ezekiel says, I will raise for you another David. King David embraces the grind of exile. You could even say he loves it. Right? So, he's the king, or he's comfortable. He's living his life, King David. And all of a sudden, Doeg speaks Lashon Hara. Achitophel speaks Lashon Hara. Michal is giving him a hard time at the ark. Shaul wants to kill him. David goes through service, problems. It's God's way of saying, hey, do you feel that drowning yet? King David says, yeah, I do. I'm drowning over here. God says, good. So you accept exile. And King David will say, yes, I do. What can I do? You're God. I accept exile. David, let's say, is the companion, which his name means beloved, of God in exile. God is, kind of like what do you call it? Like a turtle, right? God comes out of exile. He shows his face. There was the Exodus out of Egypt, right? We all have divine providence in our lives. So God is not only in exile, there is the opposite of exile, redemption. You really can't have one without the other. God is not just gone, but we are in creation, so there's no God manifested in our world openly. So all the time we're in exile and redemption, exile, redemption. And King David is the master of the art of exile redemption. So much that the eschatology of Judaism, whether people know it or not, King David, maybe he's wrong, I tend to think he's not wrong, if all goes according to David's vision, which is a nice way of saying if Tehillim is correct, which we know it is, that King David's exile redemption plight is the essence of what will happen in the end of days. He is the author of what will happen in the end of days. This relationship with God, this divinity in his life, we all have something of the divine in our life. Don't just say you have G-O-D, God, in your life. What does that mean? What does it mean you have God in your life? And we're not talking the exile. Don't say, because you pray every day, now you have God in your life. I would say the opposite. God has you in his life. You're the one chasing after God by praying and learning, which is great. Go ahead. David was a man after the heart of God. You should be in God's life. Knocking on the door, God, where are you? The question is, where is God in your life? God was the nice way of saying, where's the divinity in your life? Where can you identify the divine? Something that doesn't plateau. It just gets better and better. It's not of this world. We say that the Torah's intellect, the seichel, is a ger in this world. Because it's not indigenous to our world. Which, by the way, that's the definition of a ger. He is an intellect that is not indigenous to this world. He is of the Olam Haba, which is why he gets Olam Haba. The divine that is with David is the name of God, Elohim. He is in love with that name. And many people cringe by hearing that. They say that's the name of judgment. Who can handle it? That's David's modus operandi. And how do we identify names of God? How do you know when a divine attribute that comes your way is this name, that name, this sphere, this world? How would you know? King David knew. In the entire redemption, the missing component of our world that forces us into exile continuously, for the most part, comes from the name Elohim, that which is Bina, understanding. The lack of Bina, understanding, is where all Avodah Zarah comes from, idolatry. When it's missing in your life, you are susceptible to idolatry. Lacking in belief in God, not trusting God, you can be manipulated, controlled. Let's just call that Bilam and Balak, according to the Zohar. Exploitation of humanity. So King David says, if that's the essence of exile, then redemption should be the inverse. If you have the name Elohim, you should be okay. But it's not easy. That name comes with justice, din, judgment. And the word that identifies that trait is Yeshua, the salvation. It shouldn't be a surprise to you that the religions of the world latch on to that very word. It's like you got the J Witnesses, right? Where do you think their name comes from? We all know where it comes from. They're taking a name of God that you shouldn't say, and they say it. Right? The most richest traditions are robbed from. Oh, this guy's the Messiah. He's from David. It's uncanny where they go. But before there ever was a Christianity, there was a King David. And there was a book of Psalms. And he writes about Yeshua. We say the Shemona Esrei, Karen Yeshua. I know it's a very, very hard topic to hear, based on what's transpired in 2,000 years. So let's get the concept straight. And for the lack of the pain on the eardrums, let's call it salvation. King David is in love with salvation. Right? God says, hey, we're going under. Come on. Time to go. That's when you start feeling like you're drowning, King David says. You know, it's things are getting tense. They're talking Lashon Hara about you. Your whole life is in sabotage mode. They're going to bring you down. And you start saying, oh, you know, it's total drowning. This is the essence of every psalm. King David drowns. He has to flee. They're going to kill him. He finds out what to do. And the killing, it might not be literal, bloodbath. Just his honor, his name, his pride, his kingdom, his family. That's Gog v'Magog to King David. In fact, Talmud Brachas says the same thing. Gog v'Magog is Absalom, what he did to King David. That's worse than Gog v'Magog, or akin to Gog v'Magog. So what King David says every time is he describes the salvation. Let's just get a quick run through our psalm and see if we can find the salvation, right? God, I'm going to die. Solomon's going to come to the king. You need to give him the mind and the heart to judge the Noahides, what you'll call, let's say, the Amim, the Goyim, all kinds of words, which when you get into it, it's different connotations of the world where they're holding with the 7 laws of Noah. The Ani, the Evion, the poor, the destitute. Why are they called poor and destitute? Because they are not with, let's say, the Torah. Or let's say the Torah world wants to leave them out. Persecution. Under idolatry. The whole point is there needs to be a king in Israel with the Torah, with Mamshola, the ruling power from the land of Zion. Once you have that, if you don't have the Noahide laws, there probably is not a greater Chilul Hashem in the world. Because that's when you have to know what is universal Torah. What is the repair of the world? If you're not going to give the world 7 laws of Noah, there's no hope for humanity. If there is a hope for humanity, it's just politics and it's not coming from a state of shalom anyways. So he says, give this to Solomon. He needs that. So that he will judge the nations with righteousness, the poor, destitute with mishpat. The mountains will carry peace, judge the poor of the people, the salvation to the destitute, without oppressor. They should fear with the sun and before the moon for generations, bring down the bounty like dew, blossom with the righteous and the great amounts of peace with no end, spread out from the whole world. The noblemen should come and converge on Jerusalem to hear the Torah of the Bnei Noach from all over. Queen of Sheba should give the gold to the temple, which will be distributed to the Gerim of the land. All the kings will come and praise God. The nations of the world will all recognize God. Save the destitute from their cries, and the poor should not be without helper. Give sustenance and wisdom and vitality and Torah to the souls of the destitute with salvation. There it is. The Bnei Noach need salvation. That's what this is about. You should bring a redemption nearby that should include everybody. The blood of the destitute and the poor should be as precious to you as your own, and redeem the world from the evil people. They should live from the gold of Queen of Sheba, and the monetary system of the world should be rectified. Everybody should be righteous and just in the matters of Torah. There should be peace and victory and success in the land of Israel, and a tremendous amount of grain should flourish in the land. That shouldn't be a place of dried out, and it should be flourishing with the grain all through the Beis Hamikdash, the Holy Temple. The blessing should be for the flourishment of the land that eventually goes out to the people. May the great name of God be blessed perpetually, and bless him should all peoples. Blessed is Hashem Elohim, the God of Israel, who does wonders by himself, and blessed is the name of his glory and wonders forever. He should fill the world with his glory. Amen. Amen. Such is the prayers of David, son of Jesse. They are finished. You see, that's the whole psalm. This is how he ends. Imagine this. He ends his entire psalms on this point. I mean, there's commentary inside, but that's the gist. Salvation to the nations. Salvation to the Gerim. Salvation to the land that has Gerim on it. Salvation to Solomon, who should be able to bring that salvation out. The opposite of this salvation is the world that we live in. A world where everyone swallows everybody. Imagine if this psalm was placed in the world right now. The world is fixed. King David tells you how to do it. He tells you how to get to the Song of Songs, by opening with Shlomo. Song of Songs contains Kol HaTorah, which is the dimensions of the Mishkan, the building plan of the Beis HaMikdash. We want to hear the plight of the Ger through the Or and Tumim and the cooperation with the Jew and the Choshen Mishpat. Because they're both in a plight while God's in exile. When they work together, they draw down revelation. They're both crying out to God. Why does the world have to be this way? What they're really doing is opening up their heart to each other. Losing the Yetzer, losing the idolatry, just be men. The nations are called poor and destitute because until there's God in the world is poor and destitute. The Torah comes out of Zion. The king of Israel is the guardian of Zion. It is his job to redeem the world from being destitute, i.e. exile. As we said, the Gerim are in exile. The Jews are brought into exile. It's very reminiscent of Adam and Eve. Eve is in exile. Until we are a righteous planet, Eve is locked out. We have the Lamed, the evil female, and the evil male, called the Yetzer Hara. Evil inclination is all that this world is. We give into it. Men think that women are really Eve, but they treat them like evil. Women then treat men like evil. So we think evil is the new normal. Gerim are just a bunch of goyim. You should probably convert. Or do your 7, go to heaven, and don't budge. Everyone's just treating everyone bad. Don't do this, you're a that, it's destitute. If you don't liberate the Noahide, then you, the Jew, are just as destitute. Because where do you think your spiritual bounty comes from? From the Choshen Mishpat and the Orim V'Tumim shared between these two people. And yes, they'll complain and cry out, God, the world is poor, where are you? That's called opening your heart. And if you do it enough, you actually can witness the Beis HaMikdash being built. You can witness the Torah coming out. Torah from Zion coming out. Truth coming out. If the whole world does that, that is how you build a temple. As the prophet Ezekiel says. Once you talk about the temple, move the conversation to the temple, you'll actually make audible how to build it. So when King David says, blessed are you, Elohim, that's what he means. Restore the missing components of life, creation, mankind, psychology, people. Bring the salvation. He's saying the whole nature of the world is drowning. Go be a ger today. The Jews will say, there's no mitzvah l'chiyuso, no vitality, we're not ready. What can I do? Don't you dare keep Shabbos. Don't do your 7, sit down, don't budge. We're not ready, so you're not ready. That is the definition of drowning. Do that to anybody on the planet. Sit in your corner, don't budge. Not till I tell you can move. That's drowning. So you're saying I cannot have a relationship with God until you're ready? When are you going to be ready? Oh, never? When Mashiach comes. When's that? And how do we get there if we don't get there? The world is constantly drowning. King David says, what's the antidote to drowning? Salvation. Let God pull you in. Because when God pulls you in, when the Ger says, Rabbi, were there Jews before Sinai, like ancient Jews? Somebody told me the name Judah existed before. Isn't that why Esau's wife was named Yehudit? That's called the tub drain just got pulled, and you're being drowned. Are you going to fight it and say, no, I'm not interested, go away? Are you going to let yourself be drowned? Big question. Do you trust God? Do you really trust God? As King Solomon says in the Mishlei, in Proverbs, the kavod Elokim is a hidden matter. It's totally hidden, the glory to the name Elokim. Nobody wants to go there, because maybe you won't make it out. It's judgment. What does King David reveal to you? If you go there and you ride the spectrum, you will get your salvation. You will get your redemption. You will come out with godliness. God will reveal himself to you. On some level, you will get your Job moment. So as King David says, it's worth it. It's scary. It's frightening. They'll want to kill you. Lashon hara, bring you down. You're a this, you're a that. If you accept the drowning and you ride it through, you will come out every time. Because there is a God, and God only gets better. That is the divinity with King David. And this book of Psalms is the art form of how to live with God and God being God. God says, I'm Shem Ekia. I just do what I want to do. You can live and attach yourself to that. But you will understand the name Elohim, meaning, when God says, okay, we're going, you ready? You're not, because you're comfortable. You're a human. You got comfortable. And God says, let's go. Train's leaving. You let go, you trust God, and you get sunk. And you come out with a light of the redemption. That's why King David says, blessed are you, name of God, Elohim. The name associated with salvation. Let yourself go into exile, and you will get your redemption. Why are we still in exile today? Because the world doesn't want to let themselves go in exile. In fact, they're convincing themselves that we're not even in a real exile. This is Olam Haba. Brooklyn's pretty good. Gog v'Magog, according to King David, is basically allowing yourself to just go underwater. It may be something very mild, but they're so latching on to something steady. People don't want to let go. Why won't people keep Shabbos? They don't want to let go. Once God shakes the world loose, we will go under. And that will be the salvation spoken of. Okay. King Solomon has the Lamed in front of his name. As we're saying here, this is the idea of, King Solomon meditated on the Mishkan, and that's what allowed him to build a temple. And that's really what inspired Song of Songs. And Song of Songs contains the whole redemption in the Kol HaTorah verse, which is the faithful turtle dove that the Vilna Gaon wrote a book on that contains the secrets of redemption. Blah, 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 blah. The fact of that Lamed and how it represents the 30 laws of Noah, which is implicit in this song. How do you judge the Noahides righteously? How do you understand tzedakah with them? Righteous or charity? King Solomon has to be holding on a pretty high level. So the Lamed is there to represent that King Solomon had the level of this name of God, Elohim, in his being. Meaning, he was the missing piece, Kabbalistically, in his soul. Right? We're saying that the attribute of Bina, understanding, is missing from, let's say, the world at Silut, and Bilam Balak kind of idolatry thinking capitalizes on that. Like, let's say if you're under hypnosis and I can control you, then that's a great evil because you're missing a part of your consciousness. There's a consciousness that comes back. That's, let's say, messianic consciousness. King Solomon had that consciousness, which means he understood the name of God Elohim according to the level in Bina understanding. Every sphera, every attribute in the upper world has a name of God attached to it. Right? Tiferet or harmony is likened to Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Gevura or might is the name, I think also Elohim, I'm not sure. But Kale, Aleph Lamed, kindness. There's different vowels that make Elohim's different. So that's the point. King Solomon was elevated to a level where he was shalem. That's that word, shlema, perfection. Solomon is the same as shlema, perfection. Now, he, at that level, built the temple, and it could have been the messianic revelation. It could have been the final salvation. But it wasn't. It wasn't. So thus the salvation wasn't fully whole. Now where did Solomon get it from? When you meditate on the temple, how to build it, and we're calling the Ger divine code in the Mishkan. Listen to reference to the articles of Truman Tetzaveh. That the code is in the Mishkan itself of the Ger. Every word has a double entendre. As we say, from the mouth of God I heard two. God spoke, let's say, the literal, and the allegorical is there to tell you the story of the Jew and the Ger. And by them talking about it, reveals how to do it. So King Solomon reaches the highest level, basically since Adam, before the sin, called Zirah Yulah, the upper illumination, which allowed him the greatness to do two things: build a temple, which could have been the final temple, and to scribe Song of Songs, which is considered the Holy of Holies. So here we see the very first word is a reference to Solomon's greatness, Song of Songs, the temple, the code, the Ger and the Jew, Choshen Mishpat Urim Tumim. Why? To work together, to hear each other. Because when the Jew and the Ger get together, what do they talk about? Not the weather. Not the Yankees. How to fix the world. Why doesn't the world know this? Why don't people know the Noahide laws? That's all they talk about. I guarantee you, put a Jew and a Ger together, they will talk about one thing: how to repair the world. And they will do it from crying to each other in a very good way. It's called sharing your heart. That's the real tzedakah. Giving of yourself to the other person. And what King David is saying, he bequeaths this to King Solomon. Let Solomon have the Choshen Mishpat. Let him have the breastplate of judgment. Let him work with Gerim. He's going to be the king of Israel. He has the Gerim in his hand. Don't waste it. Don't be like these people in debate that just throw out the non-Jews. You're not like me, so go do 7. Understand the merit you have been given. The Ger on the land is here to perfect the world, and you cannot do it without him. And you must give him the salvation he requires. Give him liberty. Just like Eve must be related to an absolute righteousness. The paradigm woman. The Gerim need liberty. They need Sinai to be there to say Shabbat, mitzvot, wherever you are, whatever you need. Should they reject the whole thing? That's their prerogative. We're not making the world in the Gerim by force. But making Gerim means when the ger wants more, allow him to be through salvation. Allow him to have his liberty. And his liberty means a perfected world. And Solomon was here to give the ger a perfected world. And King David addresses that from the very first word. Just go ahead and give an intro to the next verse, and we'll pick it up next week. May he judge your people with righteousness and your poor with justice. May he judge your people with righteousness, that he should not make easier the rich and the well-off in face of the poor with mishpat, with justice. He should judge the poor with righteousness, so that we should not look down on the poor, as it is brought in Vayikra, that the poor should not be embarrassed and shamefaced in front of those that are not poor. With righteousness, he should judge your people. I'm going to end with this note. This is King David 101. Where do we get the ger code in really high definition? King David says there are 3 types of goyim: goy, am, and umim. The goy is your general non-Jew, associated by place and by language. That's all they have in common. The amim has a king, and he recognizes God. The umim are a group of non-Jews together of common religion, unique religion. The word religion here means they appreciate and understand God. King David is the one who makes these subtle distinctions in language between the people, the this, the that. And that was the ger code in the Torah. As we see the difference between the children of Israel and the people. And when King David is telling King Solomon, don't only appreciate the children of Israel, the people are just as important. And when you look through the Chumash, you see Moses all the time talking to the children of Israel, and right there always, he talks to the people. There's one Torah for the world, the children of Israel and the people. And that is what King David charges King Solomon to never forget and to perfect. And the Laman that begins the first verse says you need to take this to the highest level possible. That level will restore the messianic level missing from creation. As King David says, there's a profound thing he says. Baruch Elohim. Blessed is the name of God. Yes, it has judgment, but it also produces wonders of the world and produces the salvation of mankind. Thank you very much. See you next week, and we will start with verse 2, and we will go pretty organically in Psalms. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great Shabbos. See you next week.